Welcome to another session of evidences. So in this session we are going to discuss about trace evidence. So in the previous sessions we discussed like what are the types of evidences. So we told there are two types of evidences, like first one is testimonial and second one is physical evidences. So in physical evidence we told that from small to large evidences, like any material size, from small to large, from a small microscopic tray, like microscopic material, to a large building can be a physical evidence. So physical evidence consists of tangible objects such as biological material, fibers and latent fingerprints, like that. So physical evidence is any object that can connect a victim or suspect to a crime scene, and biological evidence which contains DNA is not always visible to the naked eye, right? So DNA is not visible to naked eye, but still it is an evidence, physical evidence. A large building we can see with our naked eye, it is very large, but it is a physical evidence. So evidence may be of any size, and the main thing we have to consider is that evidence can aid the investigator in recreating the crime scene and establishing the sequence of events, and physical evidence can corroborate statements from the victim, witness and the suspect. So it can be objective. Physical evidence is objective, and when documented, collected and preserved properly, may be the only way to reliably place or link someone to a crime scene. So we can say physical evidence as silent witness. So physical evidence often referred to as silent witness. So in the concept known as Locard's exchange principle, Locard's exchange principle states that every time someone enters an environment, something is added to or removed from the scene. So the principle is sometimes stated as every contact leaves a trace. I hope you remember this, and you should remember this principle because you are a forensic student. So every contact leaves a trace and applies to contact between individuals as well as between the individuals and a physical environment. So law enforcement investigators should always assume that physical evidence is left behind every scene, but the amount and nature of the physical evidence can vary. It's like deposited will be largely depend upon the circumstances of the crime, and according to this we can divide them into trace evidence, biological evidence, comparative evidence, hazardous evidence, etc. So here comes the trace evidence. So trace evidence, we can say examples like fibers, hair, glass, paint, etc. So trace evidence include fibers, hair, glass, paint chips, etc. Biological evidences such as blood, saliva, semen, etc. Then comparative evidence such as tool marks, then footprints, then fingerprints, etc. Hazardous evidence such as explosive residues. So items of physical evidence are not always visible to the naked eye and may be eyes overlooked, and a methodical approach to the collection and preservation of evidence is essential. One exception is that if evidence integrity is at risk, and it is important to make rapid decision to prevent the degradation or loss. so that we have to collect the evidence according to their type. So trace evidence, coming back to trace evidence, we can say trace evidence such as hair, fiber, glass, paint chips, etc. is a type of physical evidence. These all are type of physical evidence that is small. Why it is called as trace evidence? It is small and transient. Transient, we already discussed about transient evidences, like it can be either change or loss, but it is measurable. Trace evidences are measurable. So trace evidences are small and transient, but it is measurable and it is a type of physical evidence. So when larger items of physical evidence are subjected to closer examination in the laboratory, trace evidences may be detected. So for example, we can say one carpet. This is a carpet and this is large enough to see. So we just took this carpet from there as an evidence, and while examining the carpet we got trace evidence such as fiber or hair, something like that inside this carpet. So that are called trace evidences. Otherwise we will get this hair from victim's hand, cloth from like fiber or fiber from this cloth, or hair we will get from comb, like that. Then the importance of trace evidence can be critical to an investigation. These trace evidence are very important while investigating a case, and awareness of this type of evidence cannot be overemphasized. So photographing the area where any evidence is collected not only provide documentation to the collection but also assist in locating the trace evidences. So even if the identification cannot be made in the laboratory, the investigator and the prosecutor may use trace evidence as a part of convincing circumstantial cases. Skill and effort during collection, testing, and case preparation can help ensure a successful presentation of trace evidence in the courtroom. So, next we will see the integrity of trace evidences. So, the protection of trace evidence from loss or contamination is very essential. One of the primary paths of contamination is from the collector of the evidence. So while collecting the evidence, one should be very careful, because mainly the contamination can occur from the investigator or the person who is collecting the evidence. So the collector must ensure that no contaminated trace is deposited along with the evidence in question. So this may include like hair or fiber from the collector. So to prevent contamination, the crime scene personnel must wear personal protective equipment like PPE, gloves, mask, etc., and use trace contaminant equipment while collecting the evidences. So the integrity of trace evidence is very important, and we can we have to ensure that contamination is not occurring while collecting the evidence. Mainly the from the collector of evidence, it is contaminating, so they have to use like PPE kits, like such as gloves, masks, etc., while collecting. And each evidence should collect separately. So this is about trace evidences. It is very important to preserve these trace evidences because it is in small quantity and we will not get it another in like for another examination, so that we have to be very careful while examining the trace evidences. Next is biological evidence. Biological evidence. Biological evidence consists of bodily fluids and tissues. So biological evidence has particularly significance since DNA analysis can be conducted in many instances. So this DNA analysis may identify the donor, that is it can identify or individualize the person. Examples of biological evidence containing DNA include blood, saliva. These are the examples for biological evidences: blood, saliva, semen, then skin cells, hair, urine, fecal material, etc. A DNA profile may also be obtained by swabbing items thought to have been handled by the perpetrator. The type of DNA is sometimes referred to as touch DNA. So touch DNA is also, or DNA. DNA is also a biological evidence. So touch DNA, what is touch DNA? From the material, like if we are touching a pen or if we are touching a bottle, glass, fire, anything. From anything we can collect this DNA without expression, that is touch DNA. Then the power of DNA testing is such that the examination of biological items can produce very compelling evidence. However, the attention must be paid to safety, contamination, and degradation issues. Biological evidences may be detected using, how we can detect biological evidence? Visual examination. We can use alternate light source. Then chemical enhancement such as luminol. So luminol, you know that luminol for washed away blood. If you want to see, for example, a wall, a murder has occurred in particular room, and the blood spatter was there on a particular wall. So the culprit, what he did, he cleaned off all the blood from the wall, and we are suspecting this blood anywhere in this room, and we are checking for this using luminol. If washed off blood is there, we can identify. Fluorescence will give use by using this luminol if blood stains are there. So this is how we can detect the biological evidences: by visual examination, by alternate light source, chemical enhancement such as luminol. Then how safely we can collect these biological evidences? So blood can contain pathogens such as, so many pathogens are there, like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, virus, other viruses, anything like that, like HIV, something like that. So it is essential to wear gloves, like they are very infectious. That's why we have to do take care of so many precautions. So those precautions are like we have to wear gloves, face mask, etc. Then avoid eating and applying cosmetics or any hand to face contact, like especially on mouth and eye, and use implements and wear puncture resistant gloves to handle objects that may be dangerous such as broken glass. Ensure safe packing is used, and Identify the biohazardous evidences, materials, and packaging in containers with appropriate labeling. So these all safety measures you have to take care while like checking the biological and any type of evidences. And what is the integrity of biological evidence? Integrity of biological evidence. So biological evidence can be significantly degraded due to the effects of environmental factors. So for example, blood, if it is not dried properly, fungus can affect the blood stain, so that we can't examine it properly. And the amount of the evidentiary value is typically in inverse position to the duration and intensity of the exposure to the presence of living organisms such as bacteria, molds, insects, animals, weather conditions like temperature, rain, and all, and the chemistry of a hostile environment, and the amount of time interacting with any, like any of the things like temperature, humidity, whatever it is. So it is recommended that biological evidences should be air dried. So it is always said that, for example, blood or semen, if we are collecting, you have to air dry it in order to preserve it properly. So the technique used to develop DNA profiles are extremely sensitive. So it is very important that from DNA or from the blood and semen, there should be no contamination. If there is any contamination in the evidence, then we can't proceed the other steps, like we will get the false results. So in order to avoid that one, you have to prevent this, and collect and handling should be without any contamination, and the transmission from the collector to the evidence and between the evidence item, everything should be very like neatly, cleanly, and all. And a very small amount of biological material can produce a usable DNA profile. So very small amounts of biological material can also contaminate a crime scene, and contamination of a crime scene is more likely if the number of people inside the scene is limited. Only the first responder, emergency medical personnel, patrol officers, crime scene investigators, and medical examiners are all potential source of contamination and loss of the evidence. So in order to do that, you have to avoid such touching of unwanted things and all. So what we don't know what is an evidence and what will help for the investigation. So in the next class we will discuss about other types of evidences, hazardous evidence, and impression. So I hope you understood about this trace evidence. So trace evidence is a type of evidence which is in a small quantity but it is measurable. And biological evidence means like body fluids and any tissues can form a biological evidence. So in the next class we'll continue. I hope you understood till here. If you have any doubts you can ask, and I'm winding up here. Thank you.